Good morning, I'm Raine Musñgi and welcome to Follow the Money. Join us as we explore the tools and insights you need to jumpstart your financial journey. In today's episode of Follow the Money, we delve into the rapidly evolving world of cryptocurrency in the Philippines, a country that has become a hotspot for digital currency adoption in Southeast Asia. With increasing interest from both the public and private sectors, cryptocurrency is reshaping how Filipinos think about money, savings, and investment. To provide expert insights on this dynamic topic, we're joined by Wei Zhou, the CEO of Coinsph, the country's leading cryptocurrency platform, who will share his perspective on the opportunities and challenge in this growing market. Wei, welcome to the program, and thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me here.
So just to start us off, how is Coinsph adapting to the evolving regulatory landscape in the Philippines? Can you tell us a bit more about your platform?
Yeah, so Coins was actually founded quite early in 2014, 2015 here in the Philippines. And then we were actually one of the first exchanges to be licensed by the BSP, the Banco Social Filipinos. And then as a result, we're actually one of the first platforms to provide a safe and secure to provide safe and secure access for Filipinos to crypto. And then if you had bought Bitcoin back when we launched in 2016, I think you'd be doing pretty well right now.
Right, and we know that you recently got certification from the BSP for what? And are there opportunities that you still see in the current government's approach to crypto regulation?
Yeah, I mean, I think because I've traveled the world and looked at different countries, and then what I call to answer your first question about crypto regulation and compare to how we're doing it in the Philippines, I actually see, I really like the approach that the current government's taking for crypto regulation. In that they both create I think a very good environment for homegrown champions to develop, like ourselves. And at the same time, I think they provide within this framework. I think they provide the right amount of I would say, restrictions and regulation, but then also provide the right amount of what I call growing an opportunity growth as well. For example, we recently got permission to launch a Philippine peso-backed stablecoin under a regulatory sandbox framework of the BSP, right? The PAT stablecoin, and then we see this as could have a potential huge impact to make remittance, right? Which is contributes to 10 to 20% of our overall GDP, to make remittance faster, cheaper, and also 24/7. So for example, right now, this week we announced a partnership with a remittance company in Australia, where now Filipinos in Australia or Australians in general can send money to the Philippines through the stablecoin, and I think this provides a much needed alternative to some of the more traditional rails.
Is stablecoin the answer to the volatility of cryptocurrency for users? Do you see stablecoins becoming more widely adopted for daily transactions and savings in the Philippines? And how do its returns or yields fare against other asset classes, for example?
Yeah, I mean, stablecoins is basically just a digital representation of the fiat currency. I think if I want to break it down, I think one, you have investment assets like a Bitcoin, right, which is the storage of value in terms of digital gold, and then you have basically utility tokens, kind of like Ethereum, that you can use to perform on-chain transactions, or to gaming tokens that you can use to farm or to basically earn additional tokens by playing games. I think stablecoin is what I call the third class of tokens, which are basically daily use tokens. Because it represents traditional fiat value, merchants, for example, are much more readily to accept it, whether it's dollar-backed stablecoin or in our case peso-backed stablecoin, because your cost of living is still denominated in your fiat currency, right? And then it gets out of the volatility that you see in Bitcoin or even in other assets that makes doing business with crypto really hard. And I think the bigger use case, I think, for stablecoin going down the most of the stablecoin right now does not provide a yield. That's why you sort of see Tether with $100 billion sort of, of USDT in circulation. The company behind it sort of makes all the revenue. But I think what we want to build with PHBC is that we actually want to provide, we want to pass through the yield that we collect, to our users. But I think this is something that, that we look to do down the road. And I think that could be an evolution of sort of the future. That could be a path forward, I think, for new stable coins to come into market.
Some years back, some movies and documentaries had depicted cryptocurrency as criminal currency. Now, in light of growing concerns about cybersecurity in the crypto space, are there proactive measures that Coins.ph has implemented to ensure the safety of its users' assets? And how do you stay ahead of potential threats?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, we take security very seriously here. I think the protection of our user assets, the number priority for our exchange, and then we have a number of security features such as face scanning to verify the transaction, and then also sort of 2FA and authenticator to prevent unauthorized access. I think this is at sort of the user asset front. In terms of overall, I think we employ I want to call international best practice in terms of countering cyber attacks, and then also. We also have, in addition to sort of physical security protocols, we also have, I would say, robust risk management, I think, to prevent users or to prevent our users from transacting with wallets that have been flagged as security risks or AML risks.
Thank you. Now, what trends are you seeing in crypto adoption among Filipinos? Are there specific demographics or regions where Coins.ph is particularly popular?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of our existing user base breakdown, from a geographical perspective, right? I think it's pretty spread out. I think in the metropolitan areas, in the CBDs in Manila, Cebu, and Davao, and I think even to sort of smaller localities like in Baguio. So I think so, and then but that's sort of geographic. I think it's kind of spread out with some concentration in the CBD areas. And then in terms of age range, I think it's particular, like around 25 to 45 is what we're seeing. But we do seeing more users that are a little bit younger coming onto the platform. But what's really even more unique is that I think we're seeing a lot of college campuses that have started basically Web3 clubs and crypto clubs that we started sort of doing more collaborations with in terms of education efforts.
And we are showing you Coins.ph adoption rate and demographic right there on our graphics. Now, as Coins.ph continues to grow, are there plans to expand beyond the Philippines? How do you see your platform integrating with global financial systems and potentially partnerships with international banks?
Yeah, I think right now, from a global perspective, right, I think it's actually quite interesting to see, like, for example, in the US, perhaps, you see basically, traditional asset managers like BlackRock, Fidelity, Van Eyck, that's actually rolling out with, Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. And this has allowed for basically, traditional, equity investors to access crypto directly from their brokerage accounts. But I think that's true, I think, in Hong Kong as well. And I think we're going to see more of that, I think, in the more developed financial markets. And you're also seeing, with sort of these asset managers coming on board, I think we're actually seeing, in general, right, more traditional financial service providers coming into the system. I think in the developing countries like Philippines, perhaps, what we're seeing is actually a different story. What we're seeing is because, for Philippines, today, I think based on the last, couple of numbers that I've seen, there are more crypto investors than equity investors. Right, there's maybe 5 to 10 million crypto investors in the Philippines, whereas less than 5 million sort of equity investors. And I think what's interesting here is that these crypto investors, if they had invested in Bitcoin in 2015 when Coins.ph launched, or even in 2018, 2019, or even 2020, I think you actually be up on your investment. I think that speaks to sort of like what I call the democratization nature of crypto, and that it is one of the first asset classes where retail investors have had access to it before sort of institutional investors. And I think, for the first time, I think in the history, you have basically retail can front run institutional from an investment perspective. And also, the second thing about crypto is that is actually it is a global technology that anyone, anywhere in the world can access, right? If you want to invest in Google, perhaps you need to have a US dollar, brokerage do it. But for Bitcoin, anybody, whether you're in the Philippines or in Indonesia, you're in Thailand, or if you're in Brazil or Australia or South Africa, you can actually access Bitcoin through, pretty directly, right, through your local exchange, through the equivalents of the region, right? For us, obviously, we want to expand into the regions to provide the same type of access that we've done in the Philippines and those other regions as well.
Right, perhaps after the break, we would be able to talk about how much assets under management you actually have, and what the goal probably might be down the line. But first, we'll take a break. We'll be back with Follow the Money in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still with Wei Zhou of Coins.ph. Now, Wei, we were talking about the assets under management. Would you be in a position to share with us what your current standing is and what the goal might be down the line?
Yeah, I think right now, just from total customer deposits, it's well over a couple $100 million. We have had users that have had Bitcoin custodied with us, for the since 2017, 2018. And those definitely have gone up in value. So I think, yeah. And I think what we're seeing right now, although I'm seeing the same type of interest, I think, in crypto that we saw in 2021 and 2022, I do see sort of, the smart investors are coming back and then taking advantage of sort of the recent volatility and choppiness in the crypto market to start to building positions.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories about how much their investments have actually grown during the pandemic when they invested in crypto, and then it kind of crashed as the rest of the world opened up. Now, for Filipinos looking to invest in crypto, could you kindly share with us the key risks that they should be aware of, and how does Coins.ph help users make informed decisions to balance these risks with potential rewards?
Yeah, I mean, I think, so one thing that's really interesting for Coins is that we actually offer our users a lot of opportunities to earn crypto without having to actually buy it. We have a sort of what I call HODL and earn program, where if you basically just hold PHPC on our platform, we'll actually airdrop tokens to you, right, on a monthly basis through different campaigns. We actually have learn and earn campaigns where you can actually, learn if you just take the time to learn about certain tokens, and you can actually get free tokens. So we think the best way to get tokens is actually to earn them with time and without sort of really putting your capital at risk. But I do think if you are willing to put capital at risk, definitely, only invest in what you're willing to lose, right? Because investments, there's no such thing as a guaranteed return on any type of investment. And if you see any type of guaranteed returns, do your research in terms of understand the risk behind it. Because I do see a lot of sort of, Ponzi schemes and scams that do get launched, not on coins, but I think within sort of the crypto ecosystem as a whole, and in particular, I think here in the Philippines. And then I think when you do get started, definitely, go through Coins, given that we are a regulated platform here. And I think, and for me, personally, I can't talk about sort of advice, but personally, I am invested in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, what I call the major tokens, because I do believe they have been through many market cycles, and then it is they are at the early stages of the adoption curve, very much like the early days of internet, and these guys have built significant sort of both technology, community, and use cases.
Right. I think it's always good to check with the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas for the legitimacy of certain crypto platforms. Now, how has Coins.ph impacted the remittance market of the Philippines? Can you share any insights, perhaps, on how crypto is changing the way Filipinos send and receive money from abroad?
Yeah, I think we've seen this. So in terms of remittance, right? I think most people sort of in their mind are basically just overseas workers, but there's actually significant amount of online freelancers that are based out of Philippines but receive payment, I think, from global vendors, whether in the U.S., Europe, Australia, Singapore, Korea, Japan, right? And what we've seen is that a lot of these these workers, right, have been beneficiaries of U.S. dollar stablecoins such as USDT and USDC to funds. For coins, we basically have working partnerships or agreements with both the issuers of USDT Tether and the issuer of USDC Circle. So if you do sort of receive, use your Coins wallet, and then you can actually swap those tokens out into pesos, and then spend it out of the coins out of your Coinsph wallet, or send it to your other payment apps or banks. And I think these rails work 24/7, right? And the cost of doing it is actually within 1% or 2%. I think both in terms of access and in terms of cost, they're actually significantly cheaper than sort of the traditional rails, which could run up to 5 to 6%, right? Because I know people that use PayPal to receive money. You have to pay 4% withdrawal fees and the FX charge that they're going to charge you. So you're going to pay up to 6 to 8% through sort of the PayPal rails. Whereas if you use USDT or USDC, it's almost zero cost in terms of FX, and then basically minimal in terms of conversion costs that you have to pay when you convert that into pesos on Coinsph. And then it's also available 24/7. You don't have to wait for banking hours, or you have to wait overnight to get your money.
Right, I've actually been able to see a lot of your emails as well as your videos on YouTube on how Filipinos can learn about blockchain and crypto trading, especially on Coins.ph. But how successful have these methods been, or initiatives, in enhancing financial literacy across your platform, and across the different segments of your target audience or market?
I think so. For us, we care very much about education initiatives, because I think, given that it is a new technology, it is a new sort of new way of using money, a new way of using basically having access to your money, right? So for example, we have Coins Academy on our site that you can use. We have had Coins master classes, both online and offline sessions within the Philippines. And then we've actually been partnering with different communities, such as OFWs. Like, for example, we've done teach-ins with the Department of Migrant Workers. We've done sort of educational activities with, like I mentioned, different college campuses with different gaming guilds. And then we've also gone to different parts of the country. For example, in Davao, in the provincial areas of Luzon, in the provinces of Visayas. So I think we've done sort of like, we've basically have brought people online to take the lessons. We've also sort of physically have gone out and activated and engaged with the community as well. And then I think overall, these initiatives receive really positive feedback. With attendees, I think total attendees, physical attendees in the thousands. And I think what I've seen, at least in my participation in some of these, is that people are generally, very much willing to learn about crypto, in terms of, both in terms of how to use it, and then also how to profit from it.
Right, talk about profits. Perhaps, is there a testimonial or a story that you've heard that, how crypto or Coins.ph has actually contributed to their bottom line? And looking ahead, what kind of personal growth or positive change do you hope that crypto, blockchain, technology, or Coins.ph might be able to bring to Filipinos?
Yeah, so for example, we have one contractor, right, who does online design services for US-based businesses, right? And then prior to crypto, he was actually mostly, like I mentioned before, using PayPal to take money, right? Because it's really hard for Filipinos, I think, to open bank accounts outside the Philippines, right? So as a way, that's how he received payments from the vendors that he was working for. But the problem with PayPal, as I mentioned before, is that they charge you 4% for withdrawal fees from his account into pesos, and they charge him anywhere between 2 to 4% in terms of FX fees. And then recently, he's changed his method of payment. Not changed, but he's added USDC, given their US-based clients, as new forms of payment from his clients. And then all of a sudden, he's basically now gets 5% more income, right? Because he's paying less in terms of both the transaction fees and the withdrawal fees, right? So that's basically, if he makes $10,000, or he was making about $4,000 or $5,000 a month, that's immediate $250 that he can add, basically, that he's added, I think, to his own income, right? By sort of adding USDC or adding stablecoin as a payment option for his services. And then these cases are very impactful, I think, when we talk to a lot of the other freelancers domestically here in terms of, and then, opening a coin account so that he or she can have an address to accept a USDC as a form of payment for their services to their global clientele. And I think that's a really, really cool, it was really cool for me to see that. And then that's another $250 that instead of going to, middleman, right, that's going directly into his pocket and then contributing back to the economy back home.
Right, wait, just as a final question, just to kind of pursue that a little bit. So how much more of an untapped market or valuation are we looking at towards the future when it comes to crypto or Coinsph?
Yeah, I mean, I think for crypto as a whole, right, if you look at today, it's about a $1.5 trillion asset class, right? Bitcoin and the other coins like Ethereum and Solana. I think it's very feasible that this thing grows to $10 trillion or $100 trillion over the next 10 to 20 years, right? So we basically see an opportunity, just like sort of what I compare to like the internet, or like in terms of like number of crypto users, about 400, 500 million today. It's basically where internet was in like 1998, 1999 in terms of number of users, right? As that adoption curve increases over time, there's going to be a lot more value coming back into the sort of the ecosystem. I think within Philippines as a whole, I really love what I'm seeing on the ground. I think with our young people here who are actively participating in the crypto economy. Philippines is the leading GameFi country in the world. There's a leading Web3 gaming country in the world in terms of number of players, in terms of activity, and in terms of basically just knowledge and participation in general. And as a result, we actually see a lot of global games coming to Coins to want to list their tokens to access our user base here in the Philippines. And I think that grow basically what I call the service economy here, where we, instead of sort of like leaving the country to find work, we can actually do a lot of the work here at home and actually participate in the growth of this new economy. So I mean, we love to participate. We would love to sort of contribute to the growth of the sort of the crypto economy here in the Philippines.
And great thought to leave our audiences with. Still lots to look forward to when it comes to the crypto economy and how it can beef up our earnings potential. We want to thank Wei Zhou for his help in showing us all that potential. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And before we go, we leave you with this quote from American businessman and software engineer Mark Andreessen. The spread of cryptocurrency is inevitable and over time will change the financial system in a fundamental way. And that is it for today's edition of Follow the Money. I'm Raine Musñgi. Thank you so much for watching. Keep it here on BNC, the Billionaire News channel, always on top.